evening, good evening. Thank you for joining us here with Childhood Rewind. And we are finishing up. This is the finale for us regarding Are You Afraid of the Dark? We stopped at the end of season 5. There are 2 more seasons if you want to check them out on your own. We just didn't find them all that interesting. But tonight, the final 3 episodes 11, 12, and 13 Tale of the Vacant Lot, Tale of a Door Unlocked, and Tale of the Night Shift. So, as you know, regarding this series, we cannot do any more visual recaps or we get cut off the air. And don't forget to join us. Starting this Saturday, we're going to start the Scarlet miniseries. That's from my list. But let's jump into the recap of The Tale of the Vacant Lot. And any of these recaps that I do, you can find on fandom.com. I kind of just skim through and give you the best parts of what's going on so you can have some context, but the best context is to join us for the viewing party. So, Tale of the Vacant Lot. Kiki tells this story. It begins during girls' track team tryouts. A pretty young brunette teenager named Sue Simpson has just done an incredible long jump. Now the coach compliments her on a job well done. Next, Sue's best friend, Catherine Crawley, takes her turn to do one. But she doesn't jump very far, falling face first in the sand. The coach helps her up and tells her to keep on trying. Sue tells her nice try and she'll get it next time. Catherine, who doubts her plain average self, is discouraged to find out she made it number 4 out of 5 on the long jump. Catherine's little sister, Joyce, gives her encouragement. She tells Catherine that she can still make the team and long jump is just not her thing. On the way home, the sky turns gray and a powerful windstorm begins. It blows off Catherine's hat. She runs after it to a nearby vacant lot. Then, much to her surprise, the vacant lot now has an outdoor store, one that has appeared from nowhere. Catherine, curious and intrigued, goes inside to look around. She is greeted by the store owner. A woman is wearing black robes and a mask hood, almost like a ninja, although she isn't. The store owner tells her she can have whatever she wants. Catherine is nervous and about to leave when the store owner offers her a special pair of running shoes. She introduces herself as Marie, then tells Catherine that she knows what it feels like to be average, so she wants to help her. I'm just going to give a quick synopsis. The girl starts getting better at track and field, gets a whole ego rush, starts being mean to her sister and her friend. Her sister discovers the store too. They both start turning ugly to each other and have all these stores and everything on them. The woman starts haunting them at school. Then the woman is like, "What's the most valuable thing that you have?" And she's like, "This ring. I thought it had value, but it really doesn't." And she's like, "Give me the ring. I'll give you the ring if you give my sister back her life." Store owner puts the ring on and forgets to read the fine print herself, and then she ages and disappears, and everything is back to normal. Shabingish bang.
So we're going to preface this by saying that all the stories in this last boat series of season 5. Now, mind you, there are still 2 seasons.
Yeah, I
We have
told her
just chosen not to do that. And so the last 3 seasons last 3 episodes on this final season of the original cast and crew, the entitlement is just a lot. A lot. I thought these were going to be the cream. You know what I'm saying? The cream, because this is the last of the series. Again, with the original cast. And when we watched them last night, girl, let me do like the priests do in the church. In the church, pat my head, because baby, I was like, oof, no, because
but
that was hurtful.
there was one question that was asked before the story started when they're sitting around the campfire that nobody has to answer in the comments. Just really think about this to yourself over the course of the week. What would you trade a value of yours for your life? Because I'm telling you, the past 24 hours has had me thinking about this one. So just like I said, you don't have to share it with us. Just think on that a little bit. Just think on it. But do you have any notes on this episode?
I mean, other than that, you know what? At the end of the day, you have to you can't just keep relying on saying that everybody else is doing this better than you. If you're not pushing yourself to do better, then you gonna be average. That's all I got.
And just to add on to that, everything isn't for everybody. Just because you are not number one in something doesn't make you average. Because a lot of times we try to put ourselves into places that are not meant for us. A lot of times folks chase things because those things come with clout, those things come with money, those things come with fame, but those things aren't for you. So you're never going to be good at them. But don't make yourself feel like you're basic or average. Just go to where you fit, go to what's for you.
I mean, okay, take the Wonder Woman 1984 with the girl with the her friend at the archaeology office. Look what she lost. She was kind. She was nice. She was you know she wasn't mean as she that's what she lost just to be like her at that point in time best friend.
Yeah, because she was spending too much time window shopping life instead of living life. She assumed everybody else's life was so much better than hers, where technically it was because she gave up living it.
Hmm. Well, let's move on to the next one,
But we
which ain't
have
better.
Tale of the Unlocked Door. Hold on. I'm sorry. Tale of a Door Unlocked. I don't know why I keep getting that wrong.
You're not
This
the only one.
Okay. This is Gary's story. Two teenagers, Justin and Ben, are on their way home. They're discussing who they might take to the school dance. Ben is very confident and has no trouble talking to girls. Justin, however, is too nervous to speak to girls because he is afraid to be turned down. They pass by an old mansion on the hill called Albert's Mansion. The house is a big old Victorian era house, literally falling apart and condemned. Then a group of younger boys come running out of it. They use the place for their club's new member initiation. The leader is Justin's younger brother, Michael. Justin snaps at him, saying he knows that he shouldn't play in there because it's unsafe, but Michael rudely tells him he's being their mom's spy. Then he runs off with his friends. Ben sees an attractive girl passing by, so he confidently goes over to talk to her. Justin enters the store they just happen to be at, in which Sardo, once again,
Making a comeback.
which is Sardo's magic mansion. Looking through the window, he can see Ben confidently speaking with the girl. Then he says out loud that he wishes he had the confidence that Ben has. Sardo sells him a door, which by the end find out is a triplet of doors. He looks through the doors to see the future. He sees this girl he's never seen before in a house that's on fire. He doesn't know who the girl is, runs back to Sardo's place and sees door number two. And Sardo's like, oh, it worked. And he's like, it seems to only work for me. He goes to school. The girl is introduced as a new student. She is the sister of the new friend of his friend. So he starts freaking out. She gets a gift. He throws water on her, like, no. She puts on the jacket that he saw her in through the door. And he's like, if you wear that jacket, something horrible is going to happen to you. Fast forward, everybody gets home. She calls looking for her little brother. Oh, he's not here. Did he say he was hanging out here with my brother? This is where they hang out. He apologizes to her and says, hey, I know it's hard to believe, but I'm not really crazy. And she goes, ha ha ha, it is hard to believe. Goes to the house. The boys go through their initiation. They scare the bejesus out of her little brother, drop the candle. Nobody realizes they dropped this lit candle. Fire begins. Smoke billowing out the top. Nobody smells the smoke. She's walking through in the jacket, gets caught in the flames. He looks through the door again, is like, oh, this isn't the future. This is happening right now. He runs after, puts her down to shoot, realizes that the key that was in his door said in. So the second door that he saw with Sardo had to be out. He screams. Sardo thinks that he's going crazy. Then he finally follows the instruction, gets the key out, unlocks the door. They pop out. Then, of course, in the end, Sardo, although everybody is safe, tries to sell him all three doors. And the young man says, keep it. My thing is, after all of these mishaps, why does Sardo keep acting surprised?
I'm wondering how he's still in business.
He seemingly keeps bouncing city to city, state to state.
I think so. I'm like, sir, are you Mary Poppins or Merlin from the Sword and the Stone? You just pack up all your things in a bag and then just move to another city because it just seems you keep going from city to city. I'm just
Yeah,
saying.
and now my biggest issue with this, and some people be like, Taz, you're reaching. No, I'm not. I noticed in this episode and the next episode, there's a lot of misogyny and a lot of
Oh,
coercion by
yes.
nagging. Like they
Mm-hmm.
keep nagging these girls and keep nagging these girls until they wear them down. And all that does, because you're like, oh, it's just entertainment. Where do you learn the most from with your impressionable brain? From your entertainment. Because these shows are created to imitate life, your life at that time to a certain extent. So when you're sitting here watching this boy pull the Steve Urkel, I'ma wear you down. You think it's cool. So then you go out into the world and pull that. And the way they're objectifying these girls, it was really rubbing me the wrong way. Because in the core of the Midnight Society, you have some strong young ladies that'll tell you what's what. You better leave them alone. And the boys around them respect them in that way. Yes, you have some antagonists in there, but they get dealt with quickly. But then when they tell these stories, it's the woo damsel in distress. Please, baby, baby, please. That's not cool. Don't do that. And that also, I was like, is that why so many men from my generation refuse to take no for an answer and really believe that if they keep asking and asking and asking, this is cool? Because think about who everybody quote unquote idolized from this time. You had Steve Urkel, you had Zach from Saved by the Bell. That's all they did was, please, 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 just go out with me just once, just once, just once, just once, just once.
Girl, I can't say nothing because that's the shenanigans, and I'm just trying not to be part of the problem. I'm trying to educate, not indoctrinate. Fellas, we got to do better. We got to do better, baby. Because if that's what you're thinking is gonna, I mean, how do you know this person really likes you? If you're gonna sit there and consistently beg them to go out with you, think
And
about that. Beg. You're
and a lot of these
begging this
women
person.
nowadays as adults, and I'm pretty sure you've seen it in comment sections all over the place and probably heard people say it in real life. Where they're like, the ones that are like, we don't have women like our grandmothers. And then they sit there and tell this story, not realizing that one, grandma was underage and granddaddy
Grandma
was
wanted to.
was
Grandma
grown.
wanted to kill
But
granddaddy.
they're like, well, granddaddy just kept asking grandma till she said, no, grandma was afraid for her life. Grandma don't like granddaddy. She been waiting on him to die since their wedding day. And some of y'all, the granddaddy ain't the granddaddy you genetically linked with.
I'm not gonna go there. I'm just gonna leave that one there.
But our finally our final tale of the day, the tale of the night shift. This is Sam's story. It's a vampire, but it's a basic vampire story, but these vampire bites are like huge and noticeable. Um, and there's a candy striper, aka volunteer, who is the epitome of allowing life to live her for the sake of capitalism.
She wants to be a little capitalist when she grows up.
No, she wants to be a slave to capitalism because the way she going, um during her shift, she finds out that a classmate of hers is in the hospital for a tonsillectomy, and he is the clearest, no pain visit for a tonsillectomy I've ever seen in my life. And once again,
And
he's
can
trying to
talk.
convince her. Yeah, he's trying to convince her she doesn't have any fun to go out on a date with her, blah, blah, blah. And their little adventure trying to stay alive as everybody is being turned in this hospital is that this is their first date, and hopefully they'll stay alive for a second date. Now he has feelings for her, and it's pretty clear that the little junior janitor has feelings for her too, because even when the junior janitor is the first person to be turned, he's able to fight off the vampirism long enough to help save her by pushing the coffin into the incinerator. And some way, somehow, the main vampire catches on fire while holding her, but it's singed and everything is cool. Everybody forgets what goes on except for the junior janitor Felix, and then everybody happily ever. But there were instant demeanor changes and movement changes in these people, and it took them way too long to figure out what was going on. Go ahead with your notes, because I have a video regarding something else. I'm gonna play when we get done with this.
Well, at this particular moment, I say this. Um, it was a good. I'm surprised we got through all 5 seasons with as many breaks and shenanigans and shade and shutdowns and technical difficulties and emergencies we had. I'm surprised we got through all 5.
I mean, it only took us a year.
But I'm glad we did get through all of them. I mean, it just seemed daunting. I'll say that. If that makes sense.
Yeah,
But for the most part, going through all of these again as an adult really, really made me think about what we were thinking when we were watching these. I was just like, how did I get hyped up about this? Because some of this just does not even make sense. The continuity errors are abundant. But in regards to this episode, eh, it lacked this. It, like season 3 compared to season 5 was just so much better,
yeah.
and that's sad. There were a lot more space for the story to be expounded on. There were a lot more cliffhanger endings. There were a lot more endings where it was left ambiguous. Like the Renegade Virus one, when you saw that thing come out of that garbage can, I was like, oh my God, is he still in the simulation?
And then the one with the Maori sisters.
I was like, oh, Jesus, they gonna come get us. They gonna come get us, Jesus. And then the one, like the Bookish Babysitter, which I think honestly is the best one throughout the entire series. I don't think any other one comes as close to being as good as that one. Like that particular episode will always for me be one of the best episodes out of the entire series. But I mean for me this episode it was meh. And I was just like Betty Ann did it better.
And can we talk about Colin as a stalker? Because how did he know where the morgue was? He didn't work at the hospital.
Colin.
In the night shift, the one that
Uh-huh.
was getting the tonsillectomy, he led her to the morgue.
Girl, I can't say nothing to that. I'm just gonna agree and leave it alone. But yeah, Betty Ann's vampire story was much better.
Yeah.
Because nobody suspected the child. Everybody suspected the parents. Nobody would have suspected the child. I'm
At
like,
all.
I'm like, Jesus, the child was the vampire. I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, how did that happen? Because I know when I first saw that, I thought it was the parents. And then when I saw them out in daylight, Was I wrong? It's like, well, who the vampire had? Girl. But yeah, I think that I'm good. I don't have anything else with this one.
Already, hold on. I would transfer it over, but for some reason this isn't transferring over. So y'all pay close attention.
Pull it up. I can't see it. There we
I
go.
know. I'm trying to hit
Forgot about the fact that these Crayola stamp markers were the OG of emojis. When Crunch chocolate bars were also wrapped in tinfoil. Man, that just made the Crunch hit way different. And don't forget that Kellogg's Pops also came in tinfoil. And remember when the YouTube app icon looked like this? Flashbacks from yesterday you almost forgot about.
Oof.
Now, how many of those did you honestly forget about?
I forgot about the pops. The pops, the Nestle's Crunch. I remembered that. I used to love. It was like I felt like I was doing the Willy Wonka. I expected to find a golden ticket in there.
Well, not only that, when he said that it did hit different because the new Crunch bars don't taste the same.
They don't.
Now, I remember the corn pops because corn pops was my mom's favorite cereal. And every so often, if you were good, well, let's say I was good because my brothers, that was a rare occurrence. She'd let me have some. I couldn't stand that cereal. But you know, when you're younger and your parents let you have a little something that they like, you feel like a little adult for a second. And them
Mm-hmm.
stamp markers,
Yeah.
the most non-practical things ever, but we had to have them. Just like the
Yep.
Tamagotchis. Most non-practical. And when they brought out the Chia Pets for the first time, why'd you call
Oof.
it a pet? Because the only thing we can do is y'all were tricking us into being suburban 4-H kids. Because you knew we wasn't going out on the farm and you knew we wasn't dealing with manure. But that's what y'all did. That's
It,
precisely what y'all did.
it's no better than Hold on. Where is it? It's bad when you gotta look through your whole collection to find one thing. Ah, there it is. Took me a moment. Girl, I'm serious. I had to look. I had to literally look. Now this is the first one, not the second. Trash second was a shame and a sham. You
Yeah, but
should have
let's
had
not forget
Christopher
that we used
Lambert
to
in
have a
there.
Mortal Kombat cartoon.
You should have had Christopher Lambert in there. Why didn't you rehire him? Shame on y'all. Y'all knew better. Don't give me an iconic character and an iconic person to play it, and then you don't get him for the second movie. Mm-mm. The devil. Oh, it was no better than oh gosh, this one made up for this one. So the one I just showed you made up for this trash one. Oh, this was so trash, so trash.
That was
Ooh.
barely a step up from barbed wire.
Funny thing is, I would take barbed wire over this any day.
Well, because barbed wire was intentionally supposed to be cheesy and cheeky.
Ooh, I would take that over. Oh my god, I would take that over any bad '90s movie that came out.
And we still trying to figure out where in the world is Carmen San Diego and where is Waldo. We finally figured out who framed Roger Rabbit Eves by. And you know what? There are so many people currently re-watching Eve's Bayou. And I was like, how messed up was I as a child? Because what they're now discovering, I'm like, I peeped that back then. Like,
What are they peeping now?
who was really trying to entrap who? Who was really stirring the pot? So we'll just
I'm
add
not.
it to the list.
I'm not inside your head. Explain that.
We'll add it to the list.
So see, now you're gonna make me upset because now I'm gonna be troubled by thoughts about what you're talking about because I have no clue what you're talking about.
Okay, we can talk about it off air, but I can't give out the buzz on this show, and that's the creme of the creme of what we discuss.
Good lord, the shenanigans. Because I'm just like, what are you talking about? I'm like, what is it? What's the new tea? Anyway, but but I mean, there was a lot of things that were like these two
I can't see
in
the
their
other one. I see Clue. Okay. Yeah, but those were technically before our generation, right before.
yeah, but they weren't appreciated until our generation. Like a lot of people did, like when they first came out, way before we were, people didn't like them.
Nah, well, Rocky Horror Picture Show was a cult classic well before us. It's just it moved from the ballroom scene as a cult classic into mainstream as a cult classic.
That's what I'm saying. Like the '90s, the honest, like '80s into '90s, like '90s, we like the ballroom had. They were like, "Oh my god, this movie is so good." Blah, 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 blah. Then the '90s were just like, this looks good. We can make this mainstream. Let's go."
Yeah, no, because I got to give credit where credit is due. The 80s babies made it mainstream. We just had older siblings and older cousins that we were hanging out with, and where they were talking to people
Oof.
within their range, we brought it to people within our range. So we just added on to what they had.
I'm not saying that the '80s didn't do. I mean, because of what that came out. What? Oh God! Now I gotta look. Ugh.
Because the whole tradition for like Rocky Horror Picture Show of when to watch it, to dress up to that wasn't us.
This light is horrible. This light is literally horrible. I am trying to see, and I cannot. Don't get old, people. Don't get old.
That ain't got nothing to do with being old. I done been visually impaired my whole life. I was gonna do you like you do me and put your glasses on, but you don't wear your glasses. So
Okay, here we go. Yeah, so this was copyrighted 1986. No, 1975. Sorry. So the first copyright was 1975 for that movie. Which, man, I wasn't expecting so many legends from that movie to be no longer with us.
it was released September 26th of 1975. How long did you think they was gonna live? Forever?
Yep. Yep. I wasn't expecting Meatloaf to die like that. I wasn't. Even though he's a horrible human being for the most part of his life, or at least the later half of it. I wasn't expecting him to go like that. I'm being honest. Oof.
He was born in 1947. He had a horrible diet, and his name is Meatloaf. That would be like me calling myself pork chop. How long do you expect me to live? I'm living on the edge of the buffet.
Well, poor Chop from Doug lived a long time. Or better yet, how about this one? See, most people don't know. And what really kills me is that there are some black people who don't know this, or who haven't seen this, and that's the shade of our generation. Well, not our generation. Generation came after us. because they was like, "Oh, we're not interested. It's not that interesting anymore." I couldn't believe I met someone who hadn't seen it.
Because there used to be a time where it was officially unofficial that schools across the United States had an unofficial reading list. When certain teachers started actually reading the book for themselves and not just going by worksheets that had been there for forever and allowing the VHS to babysit the students, it stopped being on those reading lists. So a lot of these kids didn't know it existed, and the parents don't think about it because a lot of the people with in our generation only know about the movie and the book because they had to read it or watch it in school, just like Roots. That's why they get stuff so messed up.
Okay, can I say this? And I am not disparaging to any of the cast members, actors, directors, producers, or anything else of that particular series, both the first one and the sequel of it. I cannot stand Roots, like at all. Like it makes absolute. I'm just like no,
Well, you have
like
to think
no.
it's based on the genealogy and the lineage. And yes, I'm using air quotes and I'm using
Yeah.
this loosely on Alex Haley.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What did people expect? He's not going to give his family a defeatist mentality. So we're not going to get the complete truth. Things are not going to make sense. And my thing is, personally, what he should have done was written it from a journaling perspective because there were black people who kept track of their family lineages in Bibles, and they had little notes and papers in there, and he could have said, hey, we pieced this together in, into a journal, and this is what we went. So then you could understand the gaps. But we have to have the infamous Kunta Kinte. So Alex could be like, this is where I get my strength from. I'm the biggest, I'm the best. Like, you bought into the white man's mentality. You could have just told the story. He could have matched up actual historic facts from that time and kept it together because let's be real. He imagined the Kunta Kinte character after Nat Turner. We know what happened to Nat Turner. Kunta Kinte would not, he would have been dead. He would have been dead and consumed. And I'm not being harsh. I'm not being facetious because this is why we have no gravesite for Nat Turner. He's buried in a million bellies across the United States. And I'm not being disrespectful. That's literally what happened. Sorry to rip the band-aid off for some of y'all. Because look at the difference between Roots and Queenie. Queenie is also supposed to be an ancestor of Alex Haley. He made her crazy. But it's like we had Nancy Prossers, we had Sojourner Truths, we had Harriet Tubman's. Why did you make this woman crazy? We had one of the most epic spies during the Civil War for the Union was a black woman who was fair enough to pass to get back up to the Union, but phenotypically could still be bought and used as a slave, hence the fact she could get information to come back. But you take this strong black woman and make her hard-headed, worse than anybody else, and make her go crazy.
Well, it's no better than this one either. Whoops.
Oh,
Than
I was
this
about to
one
say
too.
what? Yes, I pulled a Urbane on that one. For
I
those
mean,
who know, you know.
with this particular story in mind, again, it's blending in what was going on at the time because it was happening. It's not like it wasn't happening. But with this one, I know it's complete and utter fiction. Reason being is because Anne Rice, as good as I love her, that's my girl. That's my Ace Spoon Coon, for Interview with a Vampire. But after that, I was just like, girl, I can't mess with you. I can't mess with you after that. Go sit down over there in the corner. Just go sit down over there in the corner. After every Interview with a Vampire, I'm like, go sit over there. Shoot. But when I first saw this, I had to I do some compartmentalization of it. One, I had to discuss with myself, this is absolute fiction. Complete and utter fiction. These people do not exist. They are not real. They are nobody in the space of history. The second part of that was I had to realize that these particular processes were done. And these were done for most black women at that time, especially half and half, quarter and quarter, eighth, 16th, and so on and so forth. This is how they had to survive, especially in Louisiana. We can't speak about the other ones. The other ones were just, hey, I'm just gonna come into this house, kick your man out, and I'm gonna do what I need to do and then leave.
But see, here's the thing.
Ugh.
It was fiction because it was fiction.
Ow.
No, you're not hearing me. It was
No, no,
fiction.
no. I said ow.
Yeah, it was fiction because it was fiction. There has been a long-standing myth, and it did start in Louisiana, that's how black women got power, that's how black women got money. Black women in the Louisiana area have been in power and been getting money. They didn't have to do that. It's been a long-standing myth, and it goes into that moral superiority of white women and the denigrating of black women, because there were so many white men who would openly, especially in Louisiana because it was legal, marry and fall in love with and display their love for black women all over the place. Now, did they know they couldn't leave Louisiana? Yep, they didn't care. They were
Oh,
with the love of their lives. They didn't have to be forced to be with Pasty Patty. So white women started saying that. And they started saying that there were these balls that, they would go to and they would woo the white men away from the white. No, white men were living their truth in Louisiana. They didn't want these white women that wasn't bathing, that had matted hair, that couldn't cook, didn't know how to raise a baby, had
stop,
dried up
stop,
titty milk.
stop. I'm gonna pee. Stop.
So it's all fiction. And it's just now starting to come out because people are like, no. That's why even to this day, they'll tell us black women, oh, you can't grow out your own hair. Bitch, you made laws that we had to cover our hair because you were so jealous of what we could do with our locks. Like, y'all couldn't take care of y'all family so bad that you begged your husband's boyfriend's daddy's brothers and male cousins to pass legislation forcing us to leave the house to be domestics for you because you ain't know how to do shit.
Yes,
Y'all couldn't
they
even
could.
stitch a button onto a shirt, but
Yes,
sitting
they
here talking about what
could.
somebody got to do. Look, it is still my theory that oral sex came along because that's the only thing that white bitches was good at. Getting a sausage caught in their throat.
Again, they can stitch and sew buttons.
Super glue don't count.
They can stitch and sew buttons. Stop that.
They can barely stitch a video on TikTok.
See, I'm a stick up for them. Can't even say it with a straight
I'm gonna
face.
call your mama and tell her you out here in these internet streets.
Oh,
Hello, Barbara. This Shirley. I'm coming to you mother to mother. He tripping.
anyway, but I'll say this: if that was the case, or if it is the case, I won't debate that here right now. I'm just saying it's a story, and I knew it wasn't real. I'll say that. Oh, oh, my knees are bothering me
See,
something
that
fierce
movie
today.
was made during a point where there were directors, producers, and writers that wanted to get Black people more representation and more roles. But they realized, unfortunately, the stories they had to tell had to placate to white audiences. Just like if you notice in all of the biopics, they like to slip in one white person who comes in and saves the day to a certain extent. That person never existed. And a lot of the storylines they give us don't exist, but they need to feel comfortable about looking at these Black faces on the screen. Like, look at all the people that are like, I'm struggling. I can't get through watching Miss Marvel. Why? Because she's Muslim?
It was no different than when Black Panther came out, and because I think one YouTuber had discussed it. She had gone now. I think she's a sex therapist. I think her name. I can't remember what her name is. She's real light skinned. She's got green eyes. Her name
You're talking about
escapes me.
Nikki?
No, 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 no. This is a different one.
Oh, then I don't.
And she said she went to go see it, and then another girl, another biracial girl, had seen it also, and so they were talking. She was just like, "Oh, the movie was great, blah blah blah, da 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 da," and she's just like, and the other biracial girl was like, "Didn't you feel unrepresented?" She was just like, "What do you mean?" She was just like, that they didn't have like one of us in there. She was just like, "I'm trying to figure out what you're talking about. Explain it to me." She's like, they didn't have any. She was just like, this is a story centered in Africa, untouched by white people. Why would we be there? I was like, well,
Yeah, the only white person, okay, they let two white people in, the Winter Soldier and then old boy.
and
And
then
they
just
wasn't allowed to touch nobody because they sent the Winter Soldier like, here, we're gonna give you an arm. But this plot of land is where you stay. Don't leave this plot of land. We catch you off this plot of land, stay here. They didn't give him no kind of companionship. Only the men's could go check to make sure he was still on that land. They was not playing. And isn't that what y'all taught us colonizers? Don't mix.
so I was just like, girl. And so I was just like, I finally when she said that, I was like, oh, okay. I get your friend was trying to be shady because I
Yeah,
was
but
just like,
even still, biracial individuals have gotten representation.
a
A lot
lot of
more than
representation.
the rest of us. And it's like, you know what? There was a TikTok creator who said it best earlier. And he's a third grade teacher, Black man. Um, and he said, we have been able to find an ability to respect and like things that have zero representation for us and still identify with the storyline. You all refuse to see how similar life is if the face doesn't look exactly like you. And if that ain't the truth, because we have had to sit through movie, cartoons, TV shows, everything where nobody looks like us, but we're still able to be like, you know what? I experienced that in class today. Shoot, that happens to me at work. But
Like,
a
okay,
black person could literally stand. Say somebody worked at Walmart. We could stand there, listen to your interaction with a customer, go home, write it out in an episode. But because we put a non-white face there, you'll sit there and go, I can't relate. It's your story.
like take my big fat Greek wedding. There is not a family on the face of this planet, not one, who could
I'm
not relate to
sorry,
that
I just had
story.
to refresh.
No worries. I was like, there is not one person on the face of this planet who could not empathize with that particular type of story. Why? Because we all think that our families are crazy and overbearing and everything else.
Well, not only that, everybody goes through what they feel is their ugly duckling stage before they turn into a beautiful swan by their standard. Dating is a headache and a hassle and stressful, especially when you feel like your family is crazy.
Mm-hmm.
and cuckoo cuckoo. Then putting on a wedding, baby. There is a family wedding and the planning process is going on. And DMAC can tell you, I have tried to hide from every bit of it.
Excuse me,
Every bit
girl.
of it. Because, whoo, and it's like you
Or
can see yourself in it because the example he gave is the movie Failure to Launch. And I can't tell you how many conversations I've had with men, women, and non binary individuals when that movie first came out and when it had a slight resurgence a few years later when it made it to like cable TV. And especially with this debate where men are like, it's smart for me to be at home with my mama. I can save money. That's what that whole movie is about. Everybody who dates in all walks of life know the difference between, okay, my parents need some help, I'm gonna stay here. Oh, we're in a recession, I'm gonna stay here. And my mama and daddy are babying me, so I ain't never moving out. But my parents want me to get up and through because I'm 65. We can all like,
sorry.
especially with the conversation of emotional incest coming up. Everybody can identify with that. But I promise you, if it would have been a black and a brown character in there, white people will say that it's so unrealistic and that they can't relate. But they could be going through the same situation every single day.
Mm-hmm. Girl, I'm telling you, they think, like I said, the whole the whole thing of like take Hollywood for example. When Black Panther first came, now they had wanted to release him according to Feige, what, like about 2 years before it actually came out. I think they
Yeah,
wanted to release him. I think they wanted to release him right before Civil War.
and the thing about it is, and even before that, let's not forget that Wesley Snipes was fighting to get it made a whole decade before.
Understandable, but Wesley, let's be real. We didn't have the CGI then that we have now. So no offense to you, as much as we love your Blade movie, the first one, not the Precipient two, but the first one was better than the other two. But baby, to get Black Panther like how it was in 2018 when it came out, was 2018,
Mhm.
to be made a decade before then, it would not have looked as nice. I'm good. I'm just being honest. I'm just being honest there. I would have been glad that it would have been made, but it wouldn't have looked as nice as it did in 2018.
True.
I'm just saying. I'm not trying to throw stones. I'm not trying to. Oh, I'm like, what is that? I was like,
It's the
I was
same banner. Your final thoughts on the night?
if um if you have any suggestions, please, 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 either DM us on TikTok or go to her are you Facebook, Instagram?
Instagram, or you can always email asktaz77@gmail.com.
Yeah. So if you have any suggestions for well, I'm just gonna call it rewind for right now because we're not watching anything childlike next week.
No, we can still keep it childhood rewind because we have to explore the fact that everybody's childhood was different. And the miniseries that we're going through, this is what I watched as a child.
Oh,
This is where I found enjoyment. So everybody found enjoyment from different things. Heck, we liked watching Murder She Wrote. That wasn't written for us.
girl, don't get me started. I still got this. I still have seasons to go through.
So do I. But I'm just saying, like, because everybody's childhood is so diverse, I don't want people to think that we're just going to do cartoons and toys. Because if you were that kid that liked to watch documentaries as a child, let us know what it was. If you, some of us like to watch Magnum P. Look, I used to like the Rockford Files. I ain't gonna even lie to y'all.
See,
And
my whole thing, my best one from back then, I had to on if I'm being really, really honest. Ooh, this is gonna date me. This is gonna date me. I used to watch Columbo. I'm sorry. I'm
honey, I
sorry.
used to watch Quincy, Hawaii Five O, the original, Magnum PI, the original, Diagnosis Murder, uh, The Odd Couple, the
Did you do
original.
heart to heart?
Yes, I did. Baby, I can tell you everything about moonlighting, even down to somebody on the
Don't get me started about moonlighting. Don't even get me started. Ooh,
and then Sybil. I'm not talking about the
moonlighting
crazy
was
Sybil. I'm talking about Sybil Shepherd's show, Sybil.
or
Designing Women.
what's the other one? Murphy Brown. Murphy Brown. Let's Maud. The Golden Girls.
That's what I'm saying. Like, yes, we had after these messages, dun-dun-dun-dun-dun, we'll be right back. We had Schoolhouse Rock. We had the USA Cartoon Train. We had all of that. But we also had shows that just intrigued us. I watched America's Most Wanted, Unsolved Mysteries, the
Oh
original
God.
Law and Order,
Stick a pin right there. Um,
Perry
for
Mason, Matlock.
for those of you who oh God, what I had the thought. Oh, for those of you who again tune in with us on Sunday, we love y'all. We love y'all. We thank you so much. We appreciate you for being patient with us the last 2 weeks when we were not here. Just things just did not happen the way they
Yeah,
were supposed to.
follow me on
That's
TikTok. You know, I was stuck in the middle of the street.
again technical
Literally. Like,
difficulty.
I'm not joking.
But when we say interesting, um, it doesn't mean that we didn't also tune, like she said, was saying we didn't tune into Saturday morning. 'Cause I don't know one kid from back from our age who did not wake up at around 6 or 5 or even 5 o'clock in the morning to get their snacks, cereal, whatever, ready for the abundance of cartoons that
Yeah,
were
because I
going to be
started with
on.
USA. No, I started with ABC, then NBC, then locally to me, there was like a little local video show that lasted 30 minutes. Then I would watch Showtime at the Apollo. Then I would turn over to USA Network for those cartoons. Then I would hit up Nickelodeon. Like, it was an all day thing. But then
Um,
you have shows that, you might have started off like, why mama watching this? Why daddy watching this? Why and you looking at your older siblings like, why you? And then you like, oh, that's kind of interesting. What? And then now you into it. Now you're ready for the next week to come with the show.
and like I say this from our generation, we had the great ability to with these parents just dropping their kids off in front of the television and just turning it on and just not caring what they're watching. Our parents still cared what we watched. They monitor us, but they didn't like.
Yeah, see, a lot of shows I watched with my mother, and I will say, like Unsolved Mysteries and America's Most Wanted, my mother used those as teaching tools for us. And when I became a parent, there was the most crucial lesson that I learned. You're not going to think of every scenario, everything to teach your children. But when you start watching things and you pay attention, you're like, oh, you know what? I never discussed, should this happen, how they should deal with it. And I've dated people in the past, even been married to people in the past, who we would be watching stuff, and I'm like, how would you handle that situation? Because I have in my mind how I would handle it, but I'm like, how would they? And some of them would be like, well, oh, I never thought about this or this, that, and the other. And others would be like, why are you always asking me that? Are you trying to make me prove your love? No, I'm trying to see if we get caught in this situation because these two people got jobs just like us. Are we going to survive? Or do I have to push you in front of the train? Because I
I was
remember
like,
my mom from the train.
So like even with Schoolhouse Rock, that literally was a school lesson on Saturday. Even though that was the case, we still paid attention because why? Because it was a cartoon and it had singing in it. You
And
weren't you
the after
weren't
school
putting to
special
and you
that
weren't
was
putting it
animated.
together. You weren't putting it together like, oh, I'm learning while I'm sitting here enjoying this.
Yeah, because we had McGruff the Crime Dog in commercials, Smokey the Bear in commercials, after school specials that were not animated at all, that were giving us little nuggets.
Like it was a good time for television during our growing up. And I hate to say that to all these kids who are out there saying, "Oh, this." I'm telling you, I'm being really honest with you. Reason being is because our cartoons treaded that line of what's for kids, what's not for kids. It treaded that line literally right down the middle. It
And
did
see,
not
all,
it did
our
not waver all the way over to the left or all the way over to the right. It
but all of our
literally
shows
walked.
catered to the wide gap of who would be watching the show. So you knew how to deal with going to school, going to a party, or going to work. It was all encapsulated in there because in one cartoon, you could have a character that did have a job, a character that babysat their younger cousins or siblings or whatever. Somebody having a first day of school, somebody having a first day of this, somebody trying out for this. Nowadays, it's so fantastical that there's really no lesson in it. And adults go, yes, there is, because you're an adult with a mature, evolved brain. You're catching it. These kids aren't. You got PJ Masks, which is a bunch of actually badass kids putting on pajamas, not sleeping at night, going to fight fake crime and getting no sleep and coming back the next day like they the greatest ever in class. You ain't done a lick of homework, ain't been to sleep, and you're battling moths at midnight.
And see, here's another thing. A lot of people criticize like the early 2000s, 90s into the early 2000s. I'm going to tell you this. If you didn't know how to point something out, if you didn't know how to say something in Spanish, if you didn't know how to put things together to get what you needed to get done, then you ain't from that generation because baby blue between Blues Clues, Dora the Explorer, baby, she
Hold
had
on,
you covered.
let's go back before that. Because we had Mad Libs. Where's Waldo? Where on earth is Carmen San Diego? Where it was putting your brain to the test. And let's not forget, we were the
Wait,
generation,
are you talking about the cartoon show or the TV show?
both.
Okay.
But
Okay.
let's not forget, we are the generation that stopped getting kidnapped so easily because we learned about the Law and Order SVU white van. And baby, we can to this day spot it a mile away with one eye open and that eye
Mm-hmm.
is open blurry.
Mm-hmm.
We are the kings and queens of stranger danger.
Girl, if you don't even get me started. Stranger
But
danger, girl.
that's our show for tonight. Don't forget to join us on Saturday for the viewing party. And do not forget, there will be a bonus show tomorrow for conversations with Taz because there were some things that we did not get a chance to discuss on Friday. So as always, each one teach one, each one reach one.